This is Land of Favela, Proverbs 28, verse 1. The wicked flee when no one pursues, but the righteous are as bold as a lion. Comment, the wicked are fearful, but the righteous are bold. There is no fear in faith. Faith in God leaves no place for fear. Just as there's either light or darkness, you don't have both. There's either faith or fear. Verse 2. In rebellion, a land has many rulers, but order is maintained by a man of understanding and knowledge. Comment, balkanization is the fragmentation of a larger country into smaller ones because of regional rebellions. Thus the first part of the proverb, in rebellion, a land has many rulers. Solomon inherited a far-flung empire from his father, which included many of the surrounding nations. The empire extended from the border of Egypt in the south to the Euphrates River in the north, 1 Kings 4:21. Remarkably, Solomon kept the empire intact without war. This was through wisdom and understanding, according to the proverb. But later in life, Solomon turned from the Lord, and there was some opposition, 1 Kings 11, verse 3. A needy man who oppresses the poor is like a driving rain which leaves no crops. Comment, a pelting rain destroys a crop in the proverb. In the same way, a man who oppresses the poor destroys the poor. He's a violent storm against the poor. Verse 4. Those who forsake the law praise the wicked, but those who keep the law contend with them. Comment, lawlessness is wickedness. If we want to oppose wickedness, we should keep the law. Verse 5. Evil men don't understand justice, but those who seek Yahweh understand it fully. Comment, the wicked have a perverted sense of justice. Those who seek God have a true and correct sense of justice. Verse 6. Better is the poor who walks in his integrity than he who's perverse in his ways, and he is rich. Comment, better to be poor and honest than rich and dishonest. Verse 7. Whoever keeps the law is a wise son, but he who's a companion of gluttons shames his father. Comment, gluttons there is Hebrew's law, which is excessive behavior in general. Today we might say a party animal. In the proverb, the son who keeps the law is wise, but a party animal given to excess shames his father. Verse 8. He who increases his wealth by excessive interest gathers it for one who has pity on the poor. Comment, we might call the person who charges excessive interest a loan shark. A loan shark collects interest that'll eventually go to someone who has pity on the poor. In other words, there'll be a wealth transfer from loan sharks who have no pity on the poor to those who do have pity on the poor. Verse 9. He who turns away his ear from hearing the law, even his prayer is an abomination. Comment, if a person ignores God's commandments, it's inappropriate for that person to expect God to answer his prayers. Verse 10. Whoever causes the upright to go astray in an evil way, he will fall into his own trap, but the blameless will inherit good. Comment, it won't end well for those who corrupt the upright, but it will end well for the blameless. Verse 11. The rich man is wise in his own eyes, but the poor who has understanding sees through him. Comment, the rich man is blind to his own faults. He's unaware that he has faults, much less that a man of understanding sees them. Verse 12. When the righteous triumph, there's great glory, but when the wicked rise, men hide themselves. Comment, when the righteous triumph, there's open rejoicing, but when the wicked rise, men hide. Verse 13. He who conceals his sins doesn't prosper, but whoever confesses and renounces them finds mercy. Comment from the New Testament, quote, if we confess our sins, he's faithful and just to forgive us the sins and to cleanse us from all unrighteousness, 1 John 1:9. Along with confession of sins in the proverb, there should be renunciation of them, quote, whoever confesses and renounces them finds mercy, verse 14. Blessed is the man who always fears, but one who hardens his heart falls into trouble. Comment again, there's no mention of God in this proverb, but fearing him is what's implied here. Blessed is the man who always fears God, but one who hardens his heart against him falls into trouble. Verse 15. As a roaring lion or a charging bear, so is a wicked ruler over helpless people. Comment, helpless people have no power to resist a wicked ruler. The ruler ravages them like a roaring lion or charging bear. Verse 16. A tyrannical ruler lacks judgment. One who hates ill-gotten gain will have long days. Comment, the Bible is anti-tyranny. Quote, a tyrannical ruler lacks judgment. End quote. God intends for rulers to fear him and be agents of righteousness. 2 Samuel 23:3, verse 17. A man who is tormented by lifeblood will be a fugitive until death. No one will support him. Comment, this also translated, a man who's laden with the guilt of human blood will be a fugitive until death. Let no one support him. NASB, verse 18. Whoever walks blamelessly is kept safe, but one with perverse ways will fall suddenly. Comment, God keeps the righteous, but the wicked will fall suddenly. Verse 19. One who works his land will have an abundance of food, but one who chases fantasies will have his fill of poverty. Comment, this is a warning against chasing business fantasies. You might starve if you don't have something safe to fall back on. Verse 20. A faithful man is rich with blessings, but one who's eager to be rich will not go unpunished. Comment, this is an extension of the previous verse that the person eager to be rich is chasing business fantasies, and the faithful man keeps a safety net. The gist of both verses is to manage your risk wisely. Don't bet the farm on a fantasy. Verse 21. To show partiality is not good, yet a man will do wrong for a piece of bread. Comment, to treat anyone unfairly is not good, yet when a man's hungry, what's fair goes out the window. He'll be willing to steal. Solomon's pointing out another reason not to over-engage in excessive risk. If the business begins to fail, besides going hungry, there'll be a temptation to cut corners, to cheat, misrepresent, and so on. The entrepreneur will wind up hungry and desperate. Verse 22. A stingy man hurries after riches and doesn't know that poverty waits for him. Comment, this extends the proverb to a fourth verse. Poverty awaits the person who hurries after riches. He's stingy, which is literally having an evil eye. He has a greedy eye on riches. This is in the same vein as a man who's chasing fantasies in verse 19, eager to be rich in verse 20, and who'll go hungry and will be willing to steal for bread in verse 21. Poverty waits for him in verse 22. Verse 23. One who rebukes a man will afterward find more favor than one who flatters with the tongue. Comment, flattery and rebuke are opposites. A flatterer tells you how great you are, and a rebuker tells you how great you're not. One lies, the other tells the truth. The person who tells the truth wins more favor. Verse 24. Whoever robs his father or his mother and says it's not wrong, he's a partner with a destroyer. Comment, it's a moral fallacy to consider one's parents' property to be one's own. Verse 25. One who's greedy stirs up strife, but one who trusts in Yahweh will prosper. One who trusts in himself is a fool, but one who walks in wisdom is kept safe. Comment, one who's greedy in verse 25 is often translated proud or arrogant. Verse 26 confirms that the translation should be arrogant because he trusts in himself. The arrogant person doesn't walk in wisdom, doesn't trust in God, and isn't safe. Verse 27. One who gives to the poor has no lack, but one who closes his eyes will have many curses. Comment, the conclusion is don't close your eyes to the poor or you'll be cursed. Give to the poor and you'll have no lack. Verse 28. When the wicked rise, men hide themselves, but when they perish, the righteous thrive. Comment, when the wicked rise, men hide themselves, but when they fall, the righteous thrive. Proverbs 29 is next.